Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra Tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and we're back for another Photoshop tutorial talking about how to quickly make refined selections inside of Photoshop so that you can quickly do things like grab this guy out of a white background and pull him into other projects without having to worry about things like, some of the background being left over inside of the follicles of his hair. Because let me just turn this off real quick. When you've got a picture like this, and you've got a lot of little hairs that you want to hold on to that you don't want to lose the detail in, finding a way to get rid of all of these little flecks and pixels of white can sometimes be a pain in the butt when you're first getting started. And that's what this Photoshop tutorial is primarily going to focus on. So let's go ahead and just throw this into the background, this black layer, just so we can see the contrast as we work. And I'm going to start working on getting this guy out of this background. So most people would probably think, Larry, can't I just quickly use the magic wand tool over here by hitting W, select the background, hold shift to add to select this white spot over here in his armpit, and hit delete? And technically, you wouldn't be wrong. It's a really quick and dirty way of grabbing this figure, getting him off of the background, and then moving on with your day. However, there is sort of a problem with that, isn't there? You can kind of see it up here by his hair. All of this white is still hanging out in our figure, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to trace around this figure manually to get rid of this white halo effect. So an easy and clean and effective way of avoiding that is to just use the refine selection tool, or the select and mask button, which is up here. In order to do that, we're going to step back a little bit. We're going to make this selection here so that all of the background's selected. Then we're going to go to select, and we're going to invert this selection, which is right here at the top. And then while we have one of the selection tools selected, either the magic wand or the marquee, we're going to click the button up here at the top called Select and Mask. And this is a whole nother panel entirely dedicated to refining your selection. You've got a number of different tools over here. You can just use the quick select tool to make selections directly, where you can trace over broad sections of this guy's body and face, and Photoshop will try to discern what is a chunk of whatever it is that you want to select, or the tool that I want right here, which is the Refine Edge Brush tool. And this is going to go through, it's going to look for colors and contrasts that maybe shouldn't be there. So I'm going to use this tool to trace over anywhere that I think there's more white that I don't want, namely around the edges of his body, his arm, his shirt, but mostly I'm going to start up here by his hair. So what this is doing is it's looking for anything that shouldn't be there. In this case, it's finding that there's all this white from the background that doesn't belong inside of our primary selection, our figure. And I'm going to trace over it using this brush so that we can get rid of it and not have it inside of our image anymore. So you can see I'm just making sure that everything that's white that shouldn't be is traced over with this brush. And as I do so, the quick select mask takes over. It's that red halo. You can actually change that to whatever you want. I can even make it blue if I want. Just whatever you want it to be colored if you're comfortable with, and it gives you the contrast you need to see what you're doing as you work with these tools. And anywhere I see an annoying halo of junk, I'm going to trace over. And let's go down to his arm, where we've got a little bit more hiding out. Let's go to the underside of the shirt. There's a little bit down here near his, kind of like his armpit area, even though his elbow is like really close in the foreground, so it's kind of hard to see that. And we're just going to try to get rid of this annoying halo using this tool. And it does a pretty decent job. You might need to play around with some of your settings in here to get it a little bit more refined after you get more comfortable with this tool. But for the most part, if you're in a hurry and you want to make a quick, clean selection and get rid of most of that, this isn't a terrible way of doing that. And it looks like we've got most of what I want, so I'm going to click OK. And it's going to look like not much has changed. It's going to look like it still has the selection over the figure, but when we go down here to this little alpha tool, the Add Layer Mask button, you'll see as we click on that a lot of it has already been removed, but there's still a little bit hiding out in there, which isn't bad. So we can actually back up, Selected Mask, go back into here where we saw some of that, and we can make sure that we trace over the hair again. Maybe make our brush larger by hitting the bracket key underneath the plus symbol. And we're just going to trace anywhere that we thought we saw some of that white kind of hiding out in here. Kind of up in the hair, we'll trace into the hair a little bit further. Then we'll click OK. And yeah, that looks really good right now. So the other thing that you can do, and the reason why we're using a layer mask, is if we look around here, you might notice that some of the area might be a bit blurrier than you want it to be. And with this tool, we can kind of retrieve some of that detail. Like here, it kind of looks like a little bit more of his face than I want has been kind of chopped off over here because of the white reflection near his temple. So I can go back over here with this layer mask selected, and I can hit the brush tool, and then using the white as the foreground color, you can use X to switch between white and black here. I can trace over his head, and I can retrieve some of that detail, so it doesn't look like a weird portion of his face has been chopped off. Likewise, if I find that I need to remove a little bit of extra detail, I can switch with X to having the black color selected. I can make my brush a little bigger with the bracket symbol underneath of the plus symbol. I'm actually going to switch to a hard brush. And then I can remove some of the more chunky portions of his shirt in the event that it kind of looks funny in my picture. And sometimes when you make selections, you get kind of a jaggedy, pixely edge in some places. You can quickly use this to trace over any portion that you don't like and remove it so that it doesn't interrupt or interfere with your picture. So like I want to remove some of this clothing right here just because it looks weird to me. Just smooth things out so it doesn't draw attention from the wrong places. And then with this methodology, if I make a big mistake, I can at any time go back and erase that or trace back over it because none of that data has been lost. All of that information is saved in this layer mask so that at any time I can just disable it to retrieve that information and start from scratch if I want. It's called non-destructive editing. So with this methodology, you can really quickly, using the Refine Edge tools, make a nice selection that looks clean and crisp very quickly, and then move on with the rest of your editing. So I hope this has helped you to make better selections. If you have any questions, you can throw those in the comment section below. I'm always more than happy to help. And until next time, I've been your pal Larry. This has been the Select and Mask window with the Refine Edge tool. I hope you have found this helpful, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.